Hey everybody, it's Romania Black, and we are on episode 5, or technically episode 17 of DanDaDan season 2. And last week we had things fairly resolved. We got a hug between Momo and Okarun, which was amazingly satisfying. We had the grandmother fighting Evil Eye and kicking ass, which was immensely satisfying, with Taro helping. We had Manjaro introduced fully and in the flesh, and it was amazing and extremely satisfying. And then the Keto family has somewhat disappeared from the scene, but maybe we'll catch up with them later. But a village was saved from a potential Mongolian deathworm and lava flow destroying it, and everything seems rather hunky-dory with us just having to figure out what the heck to do with the Evil Eye and Gigi right now. So overall, a win. So I'm excited to see what the resolution is now that we've concluded this little mini arc. Maybe, possibly, we'll see. And we're like a third into the season, so that's fun. I do have several comments that I want to talk about, so we're just going to dive right into it. I'm going to try not to get on my soapbox and on my tangent about SA, because y'all know how I am. But Christopher Peterson's been catching up with the comments, and as a comment for episode 1 and episode 2. Episode 1 involves talking about the very fine line that DanDaDan rides when it discusses potentially skirting the line, assaultish scenes. And again, Christopher and I have talked in season 1 at length about our differing opinions, our different cultural backgrounds, our differing experiences, different sexes, and how that very much affects your experience in the world. So the first part of the comment I do want to address, something they point out. They say, about skirting the line, for me the very first episode in season 1 wasn't problematic, as it was obviously absurd, and I never feared the line would be crossed. But here, and by extension last episode last season, they made the sexual assault feel more menacing and real, as I think was indicated by Momo not being sexualized, in contrast to the very first episode. Instead, that made it feel weird to me, how it just resolved itself and didn't make any difference. I have some thoughts about that. One, I think that overall, to DanDaDan's credit, they are very tasteful about not sexualizing Momo. I think it only happened in the first episode, if I'm 100% honest with you all, to get the goon bait out. I literally think they just sexualized Momo to get male readers to read. And then they pulled a Game of Thrones and were like, okay, well, now that you're here, we're not going to do that anymore, and we're just going to be decent. I really think that's it. I don't think it was absurd versus realistic. I literally think they were like, here's boobs, boys. Get ready to read. And it worked. And then they're like, okay, good. Whew, now I can be decent. And it's like, I literally think that that's it, honestly. I mean, from a marketing standpoint, compared to other series like Game of Thrones that's done the exact same thing, I think that's it, sadly. And this mangaka is a man, so we're going to talk about this with the next point. Momo seemed wholly unaffected by the whole ordeal and returned to the house all happy-go-lucky after casually finishing her errands. I guess I just wanted some more gravitas to the situation, or something when they made it feel like a real assault. Well, I can relate to that. Preaching to the choir, indeed. It is a criticism. And no offense to the mangaka, but I feel like it's all too easy, again, to write female characters going through that and being like, well, they just dealt with it and we weren't psychologically affected at all. It's like, no, that's not how this works. But I've chosen to ignore that because I know DanDaDan is a great series, and that's fine, and I don't want to project my own experience upon DanDaDan like I have in other series that have been much worse and not as tasteful as DanDaDan has been. So I try not to think about it too much. But yes, I'm glad that people notice that it's weird, because it is, but I'm not going to be that person in the comments and the discussions that are like, I'll point it out, but it's like, I feel like I'm flogging a dead horse. And so I do agree that it would be nice for it to have more gravitas, but who knows? Maybe we'll see. But their comment for episode 2 was, I'm also wondering about the souls that Evil Eye has trapped and uses like a football or a soccer ball. It seems like they need saving from eternal torment, like Silky or the girls that have been fused with Turbo Granny. For as much as we like Turbo Granny now, she wasn't at her very best behavior at the start of the show, which I think is really good for Christopher to point out, because yeah, Turbo Granny's come a long way, and I've talked about it in the discussions. But yeah, that is interesting. I really hope that with the evil eye, hopefully something happening to him, that those souls are allowed to be exorcised or allowed to pass on or something, and they're not stuck inside that spiritual ball forever. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see where that goes. But anyway, thank you, Christopher, for those comments. Dan Cat 327 for episode 2 says acrobatic Silky is dead. I like dead. It reminds me of, speaking of Game of Thrones, reminds me of Arya from Game of Thrones, where she's like, they did. She moved on after she gave her aura and essence to Arya to bring her back after she died. So Arya is kind of like Okarun in the sense that she's got the powers of a yokai, but the conscience has attached those powers. We talked about this in a few episodes ago, so I'm going to skip part of their comments. But it says Gigi, on the other hand, got full on possessed rather than just having the powers transferred, and that's why the evil eye can do whatever he wants with the body right now. Arya basically got lucky and got to skip the evil possession arc of getting powers. I talked about this back in episode 4, so I'm not going to meander too far about it, but I'm glad that Dan Cat pointed it out. Sometimes people point out things in the comments, and I'm like, I read them and I go, okay, well, wait an episode and I'm going to bring up exactly what you talk about. So, what can you do? Yuri for episode 3 says, it's nice to see that more and more battle shonens have female characters that are allowed to fight and actually be strong and useful and respected by male characters for their abilities. Of course, Okarun wants to keep Momo safe because they're friends and he likes her, but he never downgrades her abilities in combat, her intelligence, or usefulness in a fight, and he relies on her a lot. I also think in this moment, Okarun may relate a little bit to Gigi, because in the beginning of the story, Okarun's body was also possessed by Turbo Granny, and he didn't control himself. He knows the feeling. Yeah, I felt like the moment that Okarun started to beat up on the evil eye and he's like, you violated my friend, Okarun really connected with Gigi and understood exactly what he'd went through. And yes, it is the one thing I really love about DanDaDan is that without being patronizing or without being, like, I feel like some shows, they're like, we're going to have a female strong character to just say that they did it. And they don't put the work into that character. And y'all probably know one, at least, that I'm talking about. But I love that in DanDaDan, Momo is fleshed out. She feels like she is earned the stuff that she gets done. And it all feels natural and organic. And it's very well accomplished. So kudos to the mangaka for that. We definitely need more battle shonen with equity. And when I say feminism, people don't understand. A lot of people don't understand the meaning of feminism. They just think they know what it means, but they don't actually know what it means. When I say feminism, I'm not like, oh, girl power. I'm like, no, women being respected and treated equally like their male counterparts. And there is a difference there. But anyway, Alexander Q for episode 3 says, one of the things I've really been wanting to see since the beginning was Okarun and Momo working more like a team. Yes! And both of them showing equally their strengths. And sure, we've sort of gotten that in the sense that neither of them has ever been completely passive. But I do think this is the first time in episode 3 that Okarun took the initiative so decisively, and he was not only following Momo's lead. That's such a good point to bring out because, yes, over the course of this season, so far, we've seen Okarun kind of not just rely on Momo, but he's worked together with her, and he's not just followed her lead, but he's also taken on some of the lead himself and made decisions, and it's just episodes 3 and 4, loved it. So yes. But thank you all so much for those comments. I've talked way too long, but I do appreciate the discourse around DanDaDan. And y'all know if I see something, I'm going to call it out, but it's cool. We can talk about it. It's fine. I love DanDaDan because it's willing to kind of take those risks, but do so in a classy way that allows for discussion, but it never goes too far. It always goes right up to the edge, but it doesn't go too far. And that's what's important. So yeah, I've talked for nearly 10 minutes. Let's do it to it, Lars. I think we're ready to go. So we're going to start DanDaDan, episode 17, season 2, episode 5. And we're going to get started with that here in 3, 2, 1. And let's go. So basically, if this got on Gigi, we'd all be screwed. Oh, okay. So I'm curious if a lot of this entire season is going to be how do we how do we subdue Evil Eye and let Gigi exist? If half the season is getting Evil Eye and Gigi under control, I wouldn't be mad at that, because next week is episode 6, which is halfway through the season. I wouldn't be mad at that. I feel like what I enjoy about Evil Eye as a villain is that he's not just like Silky. With Silky, it was a totally different situation, right? And Silky was just we had the 1 to 2 episodes of Silky being a threat, but then after that, Ira's kindness and relatability to Silky allowed, love to prevail. I do appreciate that it's a little bit different this time around, and that the Evil Eye isn't just going to be like we trapped him in Taro's body, did a quick exorcism, and now we're good to go. No, it's a lot harder than that. And so that's interesting, because we've got it's going to be interesting to see how do we subdue, because let's all face facts. Let's all look at our shonen logic with this. You have Ira, who has yokai powers. Okarun has yokai powers. Momo's kind of the anchor of it all. Gigi's going to be able to control the Evil Eye's powers somehow. The question is how at this point. That's the major question. But I do really appreciate I didn't bring Whiteboard Kun out for this episode, because I think all I would have done with Whiteboard Kun is write down the lyrics of what Momo's grandma is saying, and we can walk through it with this. But I appreciate that Manjaro is going with them, and Manjaro is tagging along and is now hanging out with them. Awesome. We're going to talk about Manjaro later in this episode, because I like him a lot. His character's really cool. So the incantation is, though wise, working under us in battle, oh no, as tragedy is written. I like the idea that you have, Peeny Weenie. Chiquita was cute. I liked Chiquita a lot. Peeny Weenie it's like the mangaka is just like razzing on us and being like, what can I get away with? And it's like, well, that's part of the course of this series, isn't it? And then Okarun. I like that Okarun, Peeny Weenie, and Chiquita are just bystanders, right? Okarun does not need to be anywhere near Gigi with his own yokai, in interference. And so then we have Momo's grandma in the ceremonial garb as Momo and Manjaro, who's a priest, try to do this exorcism, which is really cool. I like the detail that Momo and Okarun, they have the bandages and all. It shows that they were injured. And so now, we're seeing the repercussions of that. The loving son never falters and sees only passion of the soul as precious. And so farewell, friend and loved one. May you not rest in peace, but instead as the candle in the wind. Look, Chiquita's running around in the background. That's super cute, actually. I just noticed that. Taking hold of the strained dark soils to unleash as a rainbow. So essentially, it's an incantation that's like, okay, now soul, leave this body you've possessed, and like a rainbow rise into the air, of taking hold of the dark soil, like of, where a grave is. Fun times. I like that incantation. It doesn't work. I like Chiquita has the fire extinguisher. Okay, I am Ira in this episode. I absolutely understand where Ira is coming from. Chiquita is a precious, I feel like the Brooklyn Nine-Nine meme where the girl is holding the puppy and she's like, I just met this puppy, 2 days ago, but if anything happens to him, I'll kill everyone around me and then myself. That's me and Chiquita. I've known Chiquita for 1 episode, but if anything happens to him, I will destroy everyone in a 5-mile vicinity and then myself. So I'm right there with Ira. I'm right there with her. Yes, please. But yeah, I like this. As soon as they open up Taro, the evil eye is like, didn't work. And it's like, there was a lot of humor in this episode. Just a Chiquita on the ground next to the extinguisher. It's so cute. I cannot. His little prone little body. It just, I'm Ira. He's so precious. I can't. But yeah, I do like that instead Momo's grandma just says it faster and tries to redo it, and it does not work again. And she's like, well, son of a bitch, what do we do? He's like, not this time either. And then we have the OP. All right. So we get past the OP. We get this opening scene of all of the real food. I don't know if Japan is having a moment, if animation in Japan is having just a moment, and they're like, why not? Because they showed all of the real food, like just the cutouts and everything. They also did that in Summer Hikaru Died. which I'm watching on my channel, which you should totally check out because it's amazing. They also did it in that series, and I want to say I've watched something else where they've done that too. And I don't know, it was in Bocchi the Rock. Bocchi the Rock did it as well, which you should check out on my channel as well. Bocchi the Rock did it as well. And I don't know if it's just like a trend in animation to include like the realistic pictures as well. I don't know if it's just a stylistic thing that everybody's like, well, it's like a trend right now, so we're going to do it. I don't know. I mean, it's funny, and it fits DanDaDan. It fits Bocchi and Hikaru too, so they get away with it. But so this episode is we can all stay there together. I'm assuming talking about the slumber party. I kind of love that Momo's grandma's house went from having just her in it and Momo to having this like house full of people. I really love it. There's Taro's wife's in the background, like with the t-shirt and the beanie. She's just propped up in the corner. Taro has to sit there because he has Gigi's body inside of him. I love that Turbo Granny's like, give me the food. I love Peony Weenie and Chiquita are there. Ira's like outfit is ridiculous. Why is she wearing a t-shirt over a turtleneck? I don't understand fashion sometimes, right? But it is cute. I like the love and the hate on either side. Manjiro's there as well. It's a good time. But yeah, everybody's just hanging out. And she's like, why didn't you call me for this one? I'm the leader. And I love Mom was like, you are most certainly not the leader. Why are you here? You didn't work, so you can't eat. I love it. So meanwhile, I like that Manjiro and the grandma have like a serious relationship going on. She's asking for intel to him and he's talking. She's like, what happened to the Roken sect? And she's like, don't you know? She's like, one who doth not work, doth not eat. That's really cute. I also like that the shirt that the Taro's wife is wearing looks like something off of Soul Eater. And then meanwhile, you can see Turbo Granny trying to get the food and getting the meat, the egg. Turbo Granny's all about them hard-boiled eggs. She's been trying to steal them from Okarun's plate while he's eavesdropping on the grandma's conversation with Manjiro. There's just so much going on in these episodes in the background. There's so much. This episode, I'm sure my reaction was subdued because I was trying to pay attention. Like there was so much going on at once. I don't know what the Rockin' sect is. What happened to the Rockin' sect? He's like, I haven't contacted them at all recently, so I don't know. Okay. And so the Rockin' sect maybe will have some bearing on this exorcism. I don't know. Manjiro says he hasn't heard from them lately. I wonder if maybe they're somebody that, you know, the grandma is clearly, if not an exorcist adjacent. So maybe she knows exorcists, and Manjiro is like, since he was her student, she's like, hey, can you get in contact of them for me? Like, I don't want to do it. You do it for me. I don't know. But yeah, Ira is kept, you know, with the group because of Chiquita, who is by and large the most adorable child possible. Like, God, so cute. And she's like, why are you back? And he's like, well, I was grateful when you gave me a cow, but it didn't produce any milk. So I had to return. I don't know. I mean, cows technically do have dry seasons where they don't produce milk. The only thing I'm not sure of, because my family raised beef cows, we didn't raise dairy cows, is I wonder if that's something. Beef cows, their udders, when they're not in use, dry up, and you wouldn't even know that they have an udder. They just dry up. But a dairy cow, does a dairy udder dry up? Apparently it does dry up. At least 60 days for it to dry up. Will it dry up if it's not milked? If milk is not removed, pressure will build up and eventually stop the secretion, so that no more milk is produced. Okay. Well, interesting. I don't know enough about dairy cows to know exactly. I mean, the cow looked like it had an udder. It looked like the stereotypical cow. So I don't know. I don't know if you'd be able to like just, to me, it would seem like you couldn't nurse it, but this isn't Silver Spoon. So this isn't Silver Spoon. So what are we expecting, you know? But for the record, I don't know. I know with beef cows, the udder will dry up and you won't even know it's there except for like the little teats. But with a dairy cow, I don't know if it still shows because it wouldn't even have an udder if there was no milk in it. So I don't know. I don't know enough about dairy cows to be informed to say if DanDaDan is right or not. But anyway, so he's like, Chiquita cannot survive unless he's constantly drinking milk. Chiquita's freaking cute. I'm with Ira when she's crying. That's so cute. Meanwhile, Okarun is trying to figure out the mechanisms of the aliens because he's fanboying, and it's great. So, can you tell me the details, Mr. Manasan? And then she's like, you can stay here as long as you want. Meanwhile, we've not been hearing the entire conversation with the grandma. She says they're no good. They've gotten too old. If so, I can't arrange for a Hayashi performance right now. So maybe the Roken sect are like Hayashi performers, and that's part of what she was planning from the get-go. He'll have to stay like that for a while. I feel sorry for Gigi, too, to be stuck like that. Even if we had a Hayashi performance, could we fully exorcise it? It's one thing if it's only evil eye, but Gigi's spiritual power is so strong, I don't know if we can separate them. Even if we could, Gigi might be left with some lasting effects. Well, poor boy is running on half a brain cell already, so lasting effects might not be good. We don't want to permanently damage him. And neither does Momo or Okarun, right? So when he eats the hot thing, yes, that's when he turns back into Gigi. And he's like, pitch black, where is everyone? What is this place? And she's like, evil spirits can use voices to trick you. Don't release the seal yet. And then Gigi makes the weird ass face. Here's my thing about Gigi. I love Gigi. I love him heart and soul. He's a little goofball and everything, and he's such a contrast for Evil Eye. Someone pointed out that they understood now why his voice actor is who he is, because he can pull off the range of being the goofball and being the Evil Eye, which I didn't realize they were the same voice. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. That's a lot of range. I like that. My issue with Gigi is he kind of just... I know it's for comedic effect, and I know it's just him projecting, like, trying to be optimistic and being friendly with everybody because he might be nervous, and that could be part of it, but he just is a lot. And I don't mean to sound bad with that, but he's just a lot of goof. A lot of goof in this episode. And considering the weight and gravity of the situation that he's in, I guess I wanted to see a little bit more, like, nuance with him, a little bit more down to earth, like him being like nervous or scared, or is he okay? Like I wanted to know like where he was mentally in all this, because he's dealing with a lot, having this possession happen. And instead he's just kind of like bouncing around being like cute boop-a-doop boop-a-derp like half the time in this episode. And I was like, your parents are also hospitalized, which we do get a cute scene with that, so that's fine. But he was just a little too goofball for me this episode, and I was like, I like the sincere Gigi that we got in episode, I guess it was episode 2. Yes. In episode 2, the very sincere Gigi that we got to see a lot more complexity and layers to. And this episode felt kind of like a step backwards with his character, but you know what? DanDaDan's proved me wrong. It's fine. We'll talk through it this episode. That was just my overall thoughts. Like him with the goofy face, like just played for comedic effect. It's fine. But I like Manjaro is always ready to go. And I like that they're all ready to go too. That was a cool shot. I liked that. But he's like, Auntie's here too. I'm so glad. You're as beautiful as ever. And then the grandma's like, yep, he's the real deal. There was a lot played for comedy in this episode, which was nice. It was good for the levity. But there were a few moments I was like, Gigi is taxing a little bit. I think Gigi of the 4, and I know as soon as I say this, everybody's gonna be like, blasphemy! But Gigi's maybe my least favorite of the 4. And I know you're all gonna be like, but I thought Ira. And I was like, oh no, Ira has grown on me. Ira has grown on me quite a bit. And this episode, Ira did some good things that I really enjoyed. But Gigi's a lot. And I'm just like, but it's fine. It's fine. We'll talk about it. So the cold water immediately is Evil Eye again. I'm curious to know what we're going to be doing with the cold water versus hot water and how's that going to work. Meanwhile, Turbo Granny doesn't really care. She's like, I just want some hard-boiled eggs. So, and then yeah, like again, he takes off Taro and the head, which he's been stuck inside for who knows how long. And then as soon as he takes them off, he makes this goofy ass face and it's like, yappa yappa. 2 away from the goal. I'm like, has he already been permanently brain damaged? Have we already suffered some brain damage with Gigi? Has he been brain damaged enough? I don't know. Did he have those earrings to start with back in season 1? I feel like he did. It would be kind of cool if they found a way to put the Evil Eye into the earrings, because the Evil Eye had those big rainbow dangly earrings. It'd be cool. And maybe those were supposed to be Gigi's body, only they were transformed. That would make more sense. But it'd be cool if they got, the evil eye to get into the earrings and then Gigi could like rub them or something to access it. I don't know. But I don't get the cultural reference of yappa yappa. That yappa pa, that doesn't mean anything to me. What is yappa pa? Yappa pa. What is that? Is that from Ranma? Ranma 1/2? Oh, yappa pa. Okay, what is that song? Oh, it is from Ranma. Oh, okay. I know why they're doing that song now. Oh, okay. Now I get it. Okay. I have not watched Ranma 1/2, although the advertisement for it was on a Pokemon VHS that I watched countless times. So I know Ranma 1/2. The only thing I know about it is it involves, I don't want to spoil it for anybody that doesn't know. I know this is all I know about Ranma 1/2 for the record. I know there's a remake that's come out from MAPPA this season. I know that there's a character that transforms when they get hit, I believe, with cold water. I think that's true. I think when they get hit with cold water, they transform into another version of themselves. I don't want to give away anything more than that, but I think that that's why he makes the joke of yappa pa, yappa pa. It's a song they sing in Ranma 1/2. Okay, that would make sense. It's still rather silly, but it does make sense now. I do love when she puts the glass of water over Gigi and it looks like the giant puffy face, only with the evil eye version. That's funny. So yeah, poor Taro. Taro's like, I'm the one feeling all this pain. I can't be lovey-dovey with Hana. So Hana's his wife's name. And I love that the grandma's like, Hana is not messing with you, especially if you've been possessed by or been tainted with the residue of the evil eye. She's like, no. So she's like, I'm sorry, Gigi, but you and Momo and Four Eyes, she's like, if I knew Evil Eye was there, I wouldn't have let you go by yourselves. So I like that the grandmother views Evil Eye as a very dangerous threat. And she's like, I didn't realize he was there or I wouldn't have sent you. So it's good to know that the grandma, because I was like, did the grandma know about Evil Eye this whole time? She did not. And so that's why she kind of, I think, came to help them. I think if it'd just been the Mongolian death worm and the Keto family, she might not have came to help them. But knowing the Evil Eye was there, that kind of got her out of hiding. And I like that Turbo Granny's like, oh, you guys think you can keep Evil Eye in check. Okay. She's sitting there like eating the ramen and the hot pot. She's like, Evil Eye was originally a mountain spirit. Mountain spirits are at the level of being revered as gods. So it's kind of like Natsume's Book of Friends, kind of like a yokai in the mountain that's essentially a deity. If an ordinary human were to get possessed, they'd go insane, their cells would break down, and they would die. That's why they only went after humans with high spiritual powers that could be vessels for them. And so then we see how Gigi is essentially the ultimate vessel. Okay, so we got the flashback. Gigi did have the earrings. Okay, cool. We escaped from danger this time, but Evil Eye is going to continue to grow stronger inside Gigi's body. So we need to find a way to get him under control or exorcise him, or he could kill Gigi. Essentially. And that's kind of my thing, is that Gigi, and I mean, I guess it's admirable that Gigi is the type that he's so optimistic that he's not worried about potentially dying because this evil spirit's like growing stronger inside his body and any slight cold thing of water could possibly hurt him. I guess it's good that he's optimistic and he's not letting it get to him, but I guess I wanted to see a little bit more from Gigi in terms of him being a little freaked out that this was a thing and to see more of his perspective about all of this, but the episode doesn't really focus on that. So maybe we'll get it next week. Who knows? Anyway, I also love in the background, Manjiro is doing all of the things. He really is a good student with Momo's grandma. He's getting the thermoses of hot water is genius. Yes. Because I was sitting there being like, well, how are they going to get hot water to splash on him at all times? How are they going to do that? Thermoses. Brilliant. Love it. I love the idea. And I love that Okarun gets the green thermos. Momo gets the red thermos. Or no, Momo gets the green. Okarun gets the red. Ira has a special pink one. It's super cute. But yeah, I hope that they find a way that cold water is not a factor or if it is a factor, that Gigi can control it. Because washing your hands, drinking water, like you can't drink cold water. And rainy days, you can't go outside. Like that seems like really hard to control. So I hope that Gigi can find a way to make it to, like, if he wants to use cold water to transform, he can, but he doesn't have to. I don't know. Also, the fact that they got the little sheen of the evil eye from the earrings makes me wonder if they'll be able to, like, use the earrings as a container for them. I don't know. Kind of like the Wonder Twin powers. Maybe only it's an earring instead of a ring. So yeah. And then Gigi, you know, is just kind of like, whenever we get the flashback of Evil Eye saying he wants to kill all of humanity, we don't really get Gigi's reaction. He's just like, oh. And meanwhile, Momo and Okarun are like, yeah, we don't want to go face that again. That was a bad deal. No. So the Peenie Weenie and Chiquita in their pajama jams, they go live. They're going to be a live-in worker at a dairy farm nearby. I'm assuming they'll have disguises because the Keto family had a disguise. I'm assuming they'll have disguises, and that's how they can work at the dairy farm, you know. Also, the commentary about illegal aliens working at the dairy farm and they're actually aliens is not lost on me at all. I'm kind of living for it. I love it. But yeah, so then they get in the UFO and then they just immediately fly to the next farm over, which is hilarious. All Okarun wants to know is how the UFO flies and all the alien details. Basically, Ira just wants to take Chiquita as her adopted child, which is super cute. Yeah. Peenie Weenie. Oh my God. I love Ira's like, ugh, what a waste. So yeah, then they leave and they immediately go back to the other farm. Manjaro is great. Manjaro's driving Miss Daisy, driving the grandma around, which Momo's grandma looking fly as hell in her hospital visiting attire. Love it. And like, how long until we get to the hospital that Gigi's parents are in? And so it's about 10 minutes away, which is good. Right. So everybody's got the hot water, which is cute. I like Momo actually gets the red thermos. I thought it was going to be Okarun since his powers are more red, but no, did not. The hand scene, y'all. The hand scene. Can we talk about the hand scene? Y'all, if you've seen any of my BL or Don My reactions, you will know that the hand yearning that exists in media is so real. Whether it's the Pride and Prejudice flex of the hand that Mr. Darcy does, or whether it's the yearning, the sweet, soft sensuality of hands in Word of Honor, or in Modao Zushi, or there's so many examples. But when you're trying to get some physical intimacy to go on without it being too sexual for the censors, hands have got you covered. Literally, this hand scene, whoo! That was, and Momo being bold and being like, what are you talking about? I'm not flirting. I'm not doing anything with your hand. Girl was doing quite a lot with her hand. Thank you very much. She was doing quite a lot with that hand. Like, she was being pretty sensual with that hand. And meanwhile, Okarun's like, ah. I'm all for it. I love it. Any chance for these two characters to flirt and get more, bonded with one another, I am 1,000 times here for. He's like, I don't know the rules of this game. I feel a little bit bad for Okarun because he's like, I don't know what I'm doing, right? He's like, I don't know how to respond. And she's just like, I don't know what you're talking about. Come on. Momo's very intuitive and she's just like, she's dated a lot of people. She's like, just try this out. And Okarun's like, I don't know what to do. So it's cute. I'm curious to see where it's going to go from here, but I loved that scene. It was great. So anyway, then Momo's like looking out the window and Okarun's looking out the window. And meanwhile, Gigi and Taro are struggling to figure out what to do. So they're like, they decide, is it okay us not getting a gift for Gigi's parents? And they go past the We Have Everything supermarket that is also called the Occult, which is great. Love it. And they're like, we'll just go to one by the hospital. And meanwhile, Gigi's like, oh, I'm not that worried about my family. And then he instantly, is crying along with them. He is like, Gigi is so much taller than his family. I was not expecting him to be for there to be that much of a height difference. I was surprised. But yeah, I love that him and his parents, get to reconnect. It's super cute. It's adorable. I'm glad that everything's okay between them. Meanwhile, the volcano has been contained. The forest fires are contained. And we see on the news where 9 of Jui Chiquito and 9 others, so 10 people were all taken into custody with their cracked skin and everything. So, are they aliens too? I think so. Man, the darkness of the scene with Mama Keto, where she like got her hand stuck in the bush and she just ripped it out. And then it's all in shadow with the flashlights of the search party, like illuminating it. And you slowly see her rip off the hair and the wig and like rip her suit off. Oh, that was horrific and so good. That was so good. I loved that. And so, yeah, it turns out she's an alien. Surprising no one. Yep. 'Tis an alien. Yep, you've turned all of us subterraneans into your enemy. So are we saying that there are a bunch of aliens deep within the earth? Maybe. Possibly the subterraneans. I'm a little bit terrified about that. There was a lot of stoplights and not crossing signs that were symbolic in this episode. I've noticed that a lot in anime. Everybody wants to use a damn stoplight. And I don't know if that was just Okarun being unsure of what to do next. But so they talk about going through with the Exorcism, and they talk about the Hayashi festivals. Now, about the Hayashi festival, there's these 3 images of UFOs, and then the banana aliens, and then we have this one person in the middle performing the ritual. I don't know if this is from Okarun's perspective, if this is a performance that he's seen that involved those aliens. I don't know why we got particularly that viewpoint of them, but that's kind of scary. So we want to entertain the evil eye so it'll be easier to pull him out. But nobody's willing to actually perform the Hayashi. And when the barrier no longer works, we're going to have to go against the evil eye again. And so then Momo is about to ask him something rather important, and then the friends interrupt. And I like the one friend, she's like, give Momo back to us. They're like, where's Gigi? He's not with you. And she's like, oh no. She's like, I've returned to reality. And so it comes to find out the volcano's been online, so everybody kind of knows about it. But everybody knows about Peeny Weenie and the UFO helping to put out the fire, but nobody knows about the Mongolian death worm. So win some, you lose some. But anyway, they talk about why Momo doesn't have a smartphone. And she says that her grandmother will buy her uniforms, but she won't shell out money to get a smartphone. So what can you do? Then we cut to Ira. And last season, if y'all recall, Ira basically revealed that she started the rumor about Momo, and it was kind of her fault. And now her friends, or former friends at the school, they all just kind of turned their back on her. And Ira takes it in stride. I respect Ira so much more in this season because she came clean. She admitted what she did, and then she accepted the responsibility, and she's like, fine, they don't want to be my friends. Screw them and let's go. I appreciate Ira so much more for that. And then for Momo and Okarun to grab her. Now, obviously, Ira still has this crush on Okarun, but at this point, Okarun and Momo, they've been having their moments, so I think they just tolerate Ira being that way, and it's fine. Maybe that's why I like her a little bit more, because I don't see her as a threat to those two anymore. But yeah, everybody's just like, okay. And so Ira has to keep up her reputation, though. She's like, do you want to die? She's like, stop being chummy in front of my class. And Momo's like, come on. She's like, we're asking you to hang out. Don't be getting crazy. If you have friends, you want to go hang out with them instead, that's fine. And the way that she responds by being like, no, I actually don't have plans with them, tells us that she's not hanging out with them anymore. But that means she can hang out with Okarun and Momo. I love she goes, oh, Takakura, I'm glad you spoke to me. She's still she's like, what do you want to talk about? It's great. And she's like, okay, so I have the proposal of you guys spending the night at my house, which Okarun is like, spending the night at Miss Ayase's alone with her? And Ira's like, a sleepover with friends and Okarun will be there? The scandal. And so Momo's logic makes a lot of sense. She's like, my grandma and Manjiro are watching him throughout the day, so let's relieve that so he can sleep at night. It'll be totally fine. We don't get to that point because the episode ends with him transforming. But I like that both of them are like, oh yeah, you want us to stay over? I guess. I mean, I guess it's just the worst, like the worst idea, but I guess I have nothing else to do. It's super cute. I like it. I love it. And I love that Ira's like, okay. She's like, gonna get to hang out with her. She's like, if you've got beef with your friends because of me, you don't have to force yourself hanging out with us. And she's like, you don't have anything to do with this, and it's my fault anyway. I respect Ira a lot more so far this season because she's kind of like taken some ownership, which is good. Meanwhile, the barrier's coming off, which is no good. And then Gigi's like, no longer has Taro over him. Okay. So meanwhile, in comes Momo, Okarun, and Ira. And they're like, well, it looks like you're doing all right. And then, damn, Ira showing up with the thigh-high boots, the trench coat, the sweater with the skirt. She's like, oh, the pits. I'm already sick of it. And she has like this giant hat and like 5 suitcases. Girl, you're there for a night. Oh my God. I love her. And he's like, oh, Ira-chan, you're such a cutie as always. And so she's like, oh, thanks. Can you carry my stuff? Now, do I like the fact that Ira and Gigi could seem to be polar opposites and they could kind of work in their favor for a relationship? Sure, she's got to get over her crush of Okarun before that, but it's totally possible. The only thing is like, again, Gigi's like being silly this episode, like where she's taking her, he's like, cutie, cutie, you're such a cutie, 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 woo. I'm like, are you concerned about the deity possessing you? I guess if somebody said, oh, well, this is just his way of coping, this is just his way of dealing with it, I guess because we aren't given any indication that that's the case, and maybe it'll happen next week, that then we'll see it, and I'll be like, okay, good, there it is. But right now, it just kind of portrays Gigi as an idiot, and I don't want Gigi to just be an idiot. He had so much layers to him like 2 episodes ago, and I'm like, are we just going to ignore all that? I don't know. I don't want Gigi's sole character trait to be he's dumb and like grossly optimistic and dumb. I don't want that to be his trait, right? I don't want that to be the case because I think he's already shown that he's so much more capable of that. So we'll see. And I'm sure that most people that have watched this series are like, oh no, you'll get more with Gigi, don't worry. And I'm not worried. I just, y'all know how I do. I call it like I see it per episode. And so far, Gigi's just kind of like, he's like that wind-up toy that you just like pull the back and he says phrases. And I'm like, I want more out of Gigi. So yeah, everybody's got a thermos. And I'm like, yeah, Meanwhile, again, Gigi's being played for laughs where he's just zooming by on Ira's suitcase. He's like the same age as them. And again, it just is kind of like, it's funny, but then it's like, he's the one at risk of killing all of them. He should probably take this just as seriously as they're taking it, So it was played for laughs and it's comical. I just hope it gets a little more grounded, maybe next episode with his character. Meanwhile, I don't know what the deal about the fluffy cushion is because Turbo Granny's like, where'd you put my fluffy cushion? She's like, Momo, where'd you put it? And Momo's like, I don't know. So I don't know exactly what the fluffy cushion has to do with anything and if we're going to tie back to it next episode because Turbo Granny kept being like, I want my fluffy cushion. So, I don't know. Meanwhile, again, Okarun says, well, Mr. Gigi, how are you faring physically? And he's like, oh, I should be able to fly the skies too. I'm like, has his mind been permanently damaged? Because Okarun was just trying to have like a legit conversation with him and he acts like an idiot and jumps around without giving like a legit answer of, oh, I'm okay, I'm doing fine. Instead he bounces around saying I should be able to fly the skies too. And Okarun's like, is he okay? Just, has his mind already been scrambled? Because it's literally the next picture that we get. So I'm a little concerned for Gigi. Slightly concerned. But yeah, so everybody's like, it's time to eat. And then the damn soy sauce and the other sauce. So what does he grab? He grabs, what is the difference? Like, what's the one sauce that he grabs? He says, pass the soy sauce. So is this not soy sauce? Was it something else? Maybe it was teriyaki or eel sauce. Or it just says sauce. Okay. And so it misses and hits the table. And he's like, no, not that one. The buildup was it was pure comedy. And I was here for it. I was like, okay, there's the soy sauce. There we go. And then Gigi gets hit with the little splash. And then immediately, like, clothes rip off, of course. Clothes rip away. And he's immediately like, yeah, the clothes rip out because of course they do. Because of course they do. And then Evil Eye is back to try to, like, annihilate them. And the house is instantly, like, blown up from the side. Awesome. So yeah, this was a great episode. I loved everything with Momo and Okarun in it. I love Ira getting back involved. I'm glad she's here. The grandma and Manjaro are great. I didn't see Manjaro. Was he in this scene? Manjaro was not in this scene, was he? Okay. No, Manjaro was not in this scene. So Manjaro's gone somewhere. Maybe Manjaro's gone to find the Hayashi players and Manjaro's going to come back. I did like this little cute moment where, Momo's trying to be a friend with Ira and she knows Ira is into makeup and stuff like that. And she's like, what toner do you use on your face? And she, like, says whatever. And Momo's like, oh, that's expensive. Let me try some. So I don't have to buy anything. And meanwhile, Gigi's like, well, we could play Smash Bruh. Smash Bruh instead of Smash Bros is great. And he's like, I'm really good at it. And Okarun's like, okay, sure. Why don't we all play together? And meanwhile, Turbo Granny's like, Momo, my fluffy cushion. She's like, I don't know where it is. I wonder if Manjaro took the fluffy cushion. I wonder if that has anything to do with what's going to happen next episode. I'm super intrigued to know about the journey of the fluffy cushion. And will Turbo Granny get her fluffy cushion back? It seems relevant. But yeah, what a terrible cliffhanger. I hate it. I want Gigi to be safe. I want Gigi to be unscathed overall, but now we have to wait and see what the hell's going to happen. And that is so frustrating. So anyway, I'm super excited to hear your comments down below about this episode. I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with more of DanDaDan. We're at the season halfway point next week. Crazy talk. I'll see you then.